next speaker, People and Digital and HR Data Science Partner at Qicstart, Andrew Weida Liew. Andrew, hey. Hello.
Hello. Hey, great. Thank you.
Great. I would love, I ask this to everybody, love to know, where are you right now? Where are you beaming in from?
Oh, right now I'm actually in Singapore. So it's a very hot weather, but it's great to see you guys.
Great. And it's middle of the afternoon, I guess?
Yeah, I think right now the Singapore time is about like coming to 4:30.
Right, yeah, it's what is it now? 9:27 here, CET time as well. So we're starting our day. You're kind of finishing your day, but again, intrigued to hear exactly what you have to say. Remember, again, if you have questions, you like to know more, you're curious, you like to challenge Andrew on what he's saying as well, you can certainly share it in the chat as well. Over to you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, guys. So let me start the presentation. All right, so good day to you. Good day, everybody. Today, my focus will be to share this paradox, the upskilling and reskilling paradox. So this is the basic outline, and this is what I'll be talking about. So what is the reskilling and upskilling paradox? Suppose you have $100 million or X budget, and you have two options, to spend on building your business. It gives you 50% chance to do option A, which is hiring experts, 50% chance to do option B, upskilling your trainees, reskilling your existing talents. And your first logical reaction is, if one of the option is more expensive, go for the cheaper one, right? But when you actually do it, you could find yourself breaking the bank just to execute your objective. Let's go ahead. Seems contradicting. So let's begin. So in all companies, everybody wants to be in a market leader. So these are the companies that I have advised and was also part of the leadership team. Whether is it the best global digital bank for 4 times in a row, the best global airline for 33 times in a row, or the best executive search brand for 5 consecutive years in a row. What do they all have in common? They all want to be market leaders, and they all build the future. They all want to build future business capabilities. So there are 2 main choices in all companies to build the future. Like I said, the first one is you hire expert, hire experienced veterans to advance the future, or you train your fresh graduates, give your in-house talent, reskill them, upskill them to build the future. So although companies have increased hiring by 4 times, they have increased their hiring for complex jobs by 5 times. This red bar that we see shows the total number of job ads has increased by 4 times from 2021 to 2022, while the blue bar shows the number of complex job ads has increased by 5 times from 2021 to 2022. Complex job ads are ads that contains the latest in-demand skills: automation, artificial intelligence, data engineering, machine learning, Web3, cloud computing. And it is projected to grow by another 5 times in 2023, even though at the midst we are seeing massive layoff on social media. And so if you expect complex job ads to grow by 5 times in the next year, and the total job ads to fall in anticipation for an upcoming recession, you might be thinking, okay, maybe companies will take a shorter time to fill the complex jobs. But hey, we did our studies and surveys, and we reconcile with existing data from LinkedIn and all the other big consulting firms. And we realized that the data says otherwise. Companies are taking far longer to fill complex jobs. Since 2014, it takes about 25 days to fill a complex jobs in 2014, and that increases by almost 100% to 49 days in 2021. So if you're thinking, okay, if companies are taking longer to find people for complex jobs to build the future, maybe they should choose the training route, the investing in learning and development to build the future. But when we consolidate many surveys and we analyze them, we realize that the dominant strategy for companies till today is to build the future is hiring over training. And it has been a dominant strategy for the last 4 years. Almost close to 75% of the surveyed companies choose hiring from thousands of companies worldwide. And when we ask them, for those who exhibit hiring over training to build the future. So these are the reasons why they quote that. And it actually coordinates into two major categories. Number one, it takes a longer time to train people to build the future. And number two, if they train them and they don't get results, it's just too risky for companies and for executives to take that path. And as such, we are seeing an interesting global phenomenon that in order for companies to build the future business capabilities, C-suite are expecting them to spend more money on training and development. But the dominant behavior that we are seeing is that they're breaking the bank to hire experts and veterans to build the future. Now, if you're thinking, if the whole world is spending so much money hiring, creating job ads, demand will be high. Therefore, the skills premium for these jobs will go up significantly. And this data that we are showing you next presents all the skills premium for the global top 10 skills around the whole world, ranging from data engineering, data science, cybersecurity, social media, HR analytics, software engineering, machine learning, and so on and so forth. So that the premium can go up to 100 times more on an hourly basis, relative base to the fundamental skills that everybody should have. That is digital communication. Now, workers can actually make more money if they were to capitalize on this trend, which you will be expecting them to do that. But when we review a series of surveys across 1,000 professionals and we self-check them across various sources like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and various sites, we notice that self-skilling is not their current priority. If they have many balls to juggle, they have many balls to juggle in their lives, like family, like their current job, they choose to drop learning. It is just not in their current vision to even think about self-skilling to capitalize on this skills premium. And when we survey the same group of workers who are in these Fortune 500 companies, we discover that 40% of these people actually engage in some form of side hustle or side gigs. And the three common categories of side gigs is Uber driver, Deliveroo, which is those on-demand transportation job that you can do with an app and a riding bicycle. There are also on-site sports coaching gigs or career coaching gigs. And so let's not forget the live streamer, the social media, which is the YouTubers and the TikTok guys. So this is what's happening right now. It is taking about 28% of the total income of these workers and 22 to 23% of their time, which is a significant portion of the time and income goes to this group of workers. So side hustle is a new part of these workers' identity. So we are seeing the second phenomenon. We should be expecting workers to be reskilling and upskilling themselves to capitalize on this skills premium so as to build future earning income, to build future earning prospect career. But yet the default dominant behavior that we're seeing right now is that they're going for side hustle. They go and take side gigs. They are quiet quitting. They don't want to work extra hours. They don't want to engage more. They don't want to self-skill. And so when you combine these two phenomena, we are seeing this upskilling and reskilling paradox. The first paradox is that companies expecting to invest in reskilling and upskilling because it is a cheaper path to build the future. It is a cost-saving path. On the contrary, companies are actually breaking the banks to dominantly choose hiring as the strategy to build the future. And along the same way, we are observing the second paradox. We should be expecting workers to reskill and upskill and self-skill themselves to change jobs, to capitalize on this rich skills premium, but we are seeing that, hey, no, they decide not to put learning as their top priority. They decided to do some side hustle, side gigs, double down on them to form a significant income, to form a significant identity over time. So here are these two macro trends that we are seeing on the paradox. So let me share with you 3 real-life examples from my past working experience and past corporate advisory experience at the micro level. So the first example is that when I meet up with several food and beverage cafe chains, they say they want to do digital transformation. This is because they want to have a centralized idea of what is the resource utilization rate at the time. They want to analyze their revenue rate, their inventory replenishment rate. So when we talk to the frontline workers are previously using pen and paper, So when they came to one of the cafes, one of the waitress took my order, a large cup of coffee, and a breakfast set. So she was using a pen and paper, very intuitive, just 3 minutes scribble, and she passed the note to the kitchen. And she shouted out to the kitchen staff, "Hey, table number 4, Andrew, 1 large coffee and 1 breakfast set." Very intuitive, very simple. Now, when you start getting these frontline workers to start using the iPad or the tablet and the e-mobile pay, guess what? It takes them 40 hours of learning, and yet at the end of the transformation, we realize that, hey, they are not happy. Why? Because they serve less customer. Less customer means less revenue, and so less bonuses or less pay for the frontline workers. Now, it'll be interesting. After some data investigation, the frontline workers take 14 steps to complete the entire journey transaction for a customer. It was painful for the frontline workers to use the app on a daily basis. Therefore, the skill utilization doesn't translate to more revenue. After that, they decided to change another tech vendor, and they took a while to utilize their skills to resume back to serving 50 customers, which is the pre-digital transformation with the first vendor. So this tells us that the learning curve and the utilization curve can impact the company's ability to build the future. Now let's look at another example. Now the second example is another company wanted to build AI, artificial intelligence. As we all know that in order for a company to build artificial intelligence, that company workforce needs to have data and digital literacy. So we decided to do a workshop on data analysis. So there are 2 tools that they can use in their company to learn that skill. So one group decided to use Excel, while the other group decided to use R. The given data set is less than 1 gigabyte, less than 500,000 rows of Excel, less than 10 columns of data. So both groups gone through the workshop. Guess what? So what was surprising? Those who use Excel began to learn data analysis 4 times faster, 4 times less time than those who use R. The Excel workers achieve far greater proficiency than their R counterparts in terms of how good they use the tools to analyze the data to give insights. The managers were much more happy to those who use Excel over who use R for small data sets. So again, what is this example trying to tell us? The insights behind this paradox, that the learning curve to use these tools and the compounding effects of utilization curves behind these tools can impact the companies to build the future. Okay, now let's look at another interesting example here. So the leaders of 2 types of companies decide to build dashboard, as we all love, reporting, dashboarding with artificial intelligence capabilities, so that the C-suite, the CEO, CIO, CTO, CMO, executive can forecast their revenue based on wages that they pay to the workers. The first group of company decided to follow the central doctrine of the CIO and CTO. That means any incoming talents have to take on a given tools. The second group took the opposite direction. They hire veterans, experts, vendors, and any incoming talents. They empower these workers with bring your own stack, or BIOS in short. They can bring any tools that they want to get the job done. So the BIOS company has a team with diversified tools like AWS, like Microsoft Azure, plus GitHub, plus Bitbucket, plus various ID environment of Python, PyCharm, Jupyter Notebook, Google Colabs, plus other statistical tools like SPSS and Stata. At the beginning, both groups did equally well. So the respective companies sent their simple projects. If the projects were simple, but the CIO and CTO of the central tooling company will say, hey, our approach is better data governance, tighter cybersecurity control. However, we noticed that when the project gets complex, when the centralized tooling company has teams taking on complex projects, these teams experience low productivity, low work engagement, high attrition rate, and higher failure rate. Complex projects means that involve more stakeholders, more business units, and more interoperating application. The expected failure threshold increases as the project gets more complex. When a CIO and CTO of centralized tooling company expect these teams to handle bigger tasks, to handle more complexity, they realize that actually that more actual failure because of this complexity. Workers in centralized tooling company experience a far greater learning stress. This is especially when the expected failure threshold is higher than the actual performance learning rate. So on the other hand, the BIOS company or bring your own stack companies continuously to do better as the companies do more complex projects. So what is this story that tells us? That we need to use data science to understand that the tooling policy of companies can affect changes of this workforce learning curve. So let's recollect the paradox and see the collective insights. So companies will find it absurd unless they introduce data science to look at the micro perceptions, to look at the macro perceptions too. Companies are taking far longer time, taking a risky approach if they decide to use training. Whereas workers are choosing to drop reskilling, self-skilling in favor of side gigs to increase their income, while workers choose to drop self-skilling in favor of taking side gigs to increase their income. Apart from collecting granular data to figure out the specific drivers of each company, we discover a common lessons across all the examples that I just shared with you. Number two. Oh, sorry. And so the number two lesson is that skills utilization matter. So, and all this, it gets us to think the last point is, what is your plan for 2023? If you have a choice to hire veteran or train people to build the future, what will your strategy be? What paradox are you concerned about? That's all I have. Thank you so much.
That's all you have. I wouldn't say that's all we want, but that's all you have. Fantastic, intriguing actually. What you were mentioning about side hustle, isn't it intriguing how today that percentage is growing and probably certainly for the future, a lot of people will be having more side hustles and probably maybe the time they have, the percentage of time, maybe they'll find a side hustle that takes less time. Intriguing to hear that. Right, we have a couple of questions for you. So this one's from Maria. Can you share some good examples of how you can motivate people within the company to engage in learning new skills which will lead to their promotion? So not a few, if you can just give one only because of time.
Yeah, let me say something. I think like engagement and motivation is one way. Motivating just get the thing started. The one that transforms is the habit. So I will recommend anybody listening to this lecture or message is to focus on what are the apps or the workflow that makes it easy for the workers to use. Because once it's easy, you can motivate them, say, hey, if you complete this project, maybe I can get the line managers to give you maybe 1.5 bonuses, take more time.
Okay, another question as well. I think this is more about sort of broadly speaking. So a short answer if you can. So if people-centric is a human approach, where do we draw the line when it comes to investing in people to support a business? So is there a line at all? And I think this question is really referred to the people side of what we do, and naturally the kind of business side. How can we kind of create a good balance between the two? What would you say?
I won't say there's a hard number because it varies from industry to industry, but I think a general rule of thumb is that if you notice that your company or your industry is very reliant on people to either do labor intensive work or brain work, then increasing the percentages of time and bandwidth to think about skilling and apps that enable skilling would help your company transform much faster.
Last one, very last one. People who have been employed for years have already adapted to the culture of the company, while newly employed people need to adapt. Why do they decide on new? That's the question.
I think there are the challenge that we're seeing, like, the existing company has existing business as usual same culture, and then yet they need to adapt to the new future. I mean, we are seeing this year and the last 3 years, COVID-19 had disrupted the airline. I mean, when I was in the airline, nobody expect that it to wipe it out. And then they have to transform, creating new businesses, and new businesses need new skills.
So what you're saying is essentially the new skills of let's say younger people or new those who come into the company, certainly they're needed, and certainly those are maybe lacking in others that are still with us, even though and also creating the right balance, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, you need to have a bit of both to ensure that smooth transition. But it's always better to have a start, create psychological safety, and start hunkering down on the future. Yeah.
Andrew, this is where we have to say goodbye, unfortunately. We will leave you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening in Singapore, while we will continue with our second day, HR Week 2022, People-Centric Day. It's been great to hear from you. Again, those of you that are listening, you know, reach out to Andrew over on LinkedIn, I'm sure. Connect there, take the conversation forward, and we hope to see you again soon, perhaps at another one of our events.
Cool. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.